Okay, so we have a pod loaded into the vise. We got the vise all straightened out, and what we want to do is pick up our datum, our work offset for this pod, and we have to determine first where that is. I'm going to go with this example that the upper left corner is going to be X0, Y0. So this is where we pick up our X, this is where we pick up our Y with the edge finder. And we have the edge finder loaded in the collet tool, and I push this off to the side so I'm going to make it wobble when I start, alright? And the idea is we come down and we bring the edge finder into here, and then we stop and set the work offset. Looking at the machine control, we want to make sure that we're in handle jog. So I press the handle jog button. And what we're doing is we're setting our work zero offset, the G54, that needs to be white. So what I do is I press the offset button. And now this is highlighted white. And now I use my cursor button to cursor down to G54X. That needs to be highlighted when we go and pick up the X on the machine. We need to have our spindle running in order to do this, so I'm going to go and press 750 and then clockwise. Now you can see that's running and the edge finder is wobbling. So we're going to bring that down to hit against here and then stop it. Alright, so now I'm going to use my cursor keys and my X, Y, and Z on handle jog in 1,000th increment to position that edge finder near the edge of the pod. I'm going to go real slow when I get close. You'll see that the wobbling slows down, not so much as it was. There we go, we're getting closer and closer. Now it's almost going straight. It's going to kick off to the side in a minute. There we go, it kicked off to the side. I'm going to stop. Now back to the machine control with the X-axis highlighted and the G54. I'm just going to go down here. I'm going to press pot 0 set. You'll see that shift when I do that. There we go. And then it jumps over to the Y-axis, so we're ready to do the same thing on the Y-axis. So now I'm going to move up on the Z first, so I'm clearing my pot. Move over on the X. Then use the Y-axis to position backwards a little bit. Come down a little bit on the Z. Go to 1,000th increments when I'm doing this. And I'm going to be just below the back of that pot. And about there should be good. And again, I'm going to push that off to the side before I start it up. Alright, so now I'm going to start my spindle clockwise again. Switch to the Y-axis and bring that in contact with the pipe. Nice and easy. We don't have to rush this. Alright, it's starting to straighten out now. I'm going to go one click at a time until that kicks off to the side. Okay, stop that there. Bring the Z above the pipe. I'm going to go back to my control. It's highlighted on the Y-axis. I'm going to push pod 0 set. And now that's all set too. In this case, the Z-axis is actually showing an offset. I want to get rid of that. I'm just going to put the opposite number. It says negative 2,000, so I'm going to put 0.002 and then enter. And then that wipes that out. Now I've loaded in a different tool. This is just a tool, it's a pointer tool. We call it a datum finder. What it does is we're going to send this tool to X0, Y0, and it should end up right over this corner. But we're going to have to make some adjustments because that tip of the edge finder has a 0.1 radius, which I've already mentioned to you in class. Okay, and we need to adjust for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to close the doors, go to the machine control, and go to list program. And I'm going to find on my program something called G54 datum self-check. Alright? And when I find that and highlight it, I'm going to push select program. That makes that the active program. All that this does is it rapids to G54 X0 Y0. All right, and then we can bring the spindle down to check with that pointing tool to see if we're in the right spot. So I'm going to go to my memory and then hit cycle start. Okay, now that has been positioned above where it thinks the X0 Y0 should be. I'm going to go to handle jog mode and bring this down in the Z until I'm just above the part. When I get close, I'm going to slow it down 0.001 increment and get down really close to the part. Now you can probably see this. It's off in both the X and Y axis. All right, that's off from here to here and from here to here. The reason is we need to move an extra 100 thousandths that way on the X, and we got to move it 100 thousandths that way on the Y to compensate for the fact that the edge finder has a 0.1 radius. Over at the control, I'm going to hit the offset page so I can highlight my X and Y. I use my cursor keys down here to go back, and here's where I'm going to make my adjustments. Now on the X axis, we are in on the negative side of X, so I have to add 0.1. I have to add that extra offset. All I got to do is down here on my keypad type in 0.1, and when I hit enter, that's going to change. Alright, that just changed by 100 thousandths. I'm going to do the same thing on the Y axis. So I got a cursor over to it first, highlight the Y, and go, this time I got to go negative 0.1 to make the adjustment in the correct direction. Alright, hit enter, that changes. Now we can go test it. Back in memory mode, I'm going to run that same X0 Y0 program, the datum self-check, and that just moved. I'm going to open up the door and double check to see if I'm in the right location. I'm going to switch over to handle jog. 1,000th increment on the Z. And I'm going to bring this down, and I should be right over that corner. And that lines up really well. Okay, we're right there. We don't know if it's perfect, but we know we're pretty close. A lot closer than we were before. And then we take these tools out, and we're ready to start our program.